RuneScape is one of the deepest, most flexible MMOs ever made. It has one of the most worst reputations of a game I've ever heard of, though. Ask anyone who's touched this game in the last few years, and you'll hear the same thing essentially. Isn't that the clunky point and click game with like super bad microtransactions? But the truth is that that version of RuneScape is pretty much gone. The game has gone through so many updates over the last 6 months that the game has changed dramatically, even for guys like myself who've been playing for a very long time and play regularly. Today, I would like to show you why modern RuneScape is hated so badly, why that hate is pretty much outdated, and why, especially if you're a new player, RuneScape might be one of the best MMOs you could pick up in 2026. Now, most people have heard of RuneScape. It's a point and click game where you go around, quest, interact with things, train skills, and kill things. For years, the game struggled with a lot of aggressive microtransactions. It had inconsistent management and art style, a confusing onboarding process for new players, and a UI that was just impossible to navigate if you were booting up for the first time. If you tried RuneScape anytime between 2014 to 2025, you probably bounced off immediately, and that's a pretty big time span. That's 9 years. And honestly, that's pretty fair. I don't really blame you. Treasure Hunter dominated its progression by providing so many weapons, items, experience, gold that it kind of demeaned the beginning portion of the game, especially for people who were just picking it up for the first time and realize it's a pretty slow game. It's a traditional MMO with a modern coat of paint, and that the game felt pretty much a relic of what people have always heard of the glory days of RuneScape. But over the last 6 months, RuneScape has spent the last several years quietly fixing all of these things, and 2026 has been a pretty big payoff, especially for regular players who play on every single day and this is their home MMO, or it's just for people that are coming back after an extended break, which a lot of players are. Now, 2026 has been one of the strongest years in RuneScape's entire history. Player numbers went up. We went from an average of about 13,000 players to an average of 21,000 players. And a lot of gaming outlets and YouTube channels don't really cover that. They'll kind of dismiss it because there's the giant shadow of old school RuneScape, which is very popular but has its own flaws. But when you look at it in terms of ranking and the surviving of the player base, it hovers from 13,000 from the beginning of last year to now, which is at 21,000, which is kind of rare for seeing an MMO have such a large boost in the player base. That's almost double in the last year, which is a really good sign because 2026 has been a huge glow up for the game, making it one of the strongest in a long time. Essentially, what the developers did was overhaul the new player experience. The tutorial and early game were built from scratch, no more menu bombardment. You kind of just progressively get menus as you go through things. They leveled out how early game is. They're making a smoother leveling process, gives a clear direction of like where you could possibly start going, and it made the beginning areas easier to navigate, and it's a much better pacing when you go from the early game into the mid game, which a lot of the meat and potatoes are. And for the first time, RuneScape feels like a game that wants you to understand it, when before it was very hard to figure out like, what am I supposed to do, where am I supposed to go? And for new players, it's a lot easier. I've been seeing so many posts on Reddit that people are picking up the game for the very first time after hearing about it for so many years and after seeing the roadmap that changes a lot of the predatory microtransactions and practices of the game. It's been a lot smoother time. For example, my wife just started playing RuneScape, her first time playing RuneScape at all, getting into gaming in general, and she's been able to get her way through the game relatively easily through all the resources provided, and just a general leveling process has helped her figure out where she's supposed to go in a natural feeling way of like, okay, I do this thing, go do another thing, so on and so forth. And in addition to that, the player avatar refresh, which pretty much just gave the entire player body a complete remaster. RuneScape's character models got completely rebuilt. The faces, the body, animations, everything is clear and looks more expressive. In addition to that, it just looks more in line with a modern game. RuneScape's previous player models were relatively rough to look at. They didn't have very good lighting, they didn't work well with graphics, and it was this weird mesh when it comes to looking at your character in the world, the thing you're going to see 100% of the time. And I think people underestimate how important it is for your player model, the thing that you're living through, to be pretty clean. It can be a really rough time when you have an ugly character model to play through the game. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about graphics, but for me, if my player model is pretty ugly, the fantasy of like actually role-playing my character and seeing my dude progress, it becomes less attached, and I really enjoy having a nice player model to look at, and the new updated rendering and lighting differences really emphasis making the character blend into the world more naturally, and the environments pop a lot better. But none of that really matters if the UI doesn't work. RuneScape's previous UI was incredibly clunky. It looked very odd. It had this weird blue color that honestly you just kind of got used to and rather than like enjoyed to look at. But now it has this new clean, fresh, medieval, brown, rustic look to it, kind of reminding me of like old ancient games back when the game was created 25 years ago. Now you can also have it change from the traditional UI, which is just kind of you can customize it, put things wherever you'd like to now you can use a classic windowed UI that looks a lot better and a lot easier to navigate when you're just playing the game. You're going to want to be using the full customizable UI, the harder content you get into, but when you're just getting into the game or for a lot of skilling, when it doesn't really require a ton of actions per minute and so on and so forth, the classic UI works great. Myself, I use it all the time. I swap between the traditional UI and then the classic UI because sometimes I just want to be able to do some skilling with a clean, easy, not really many menus popping up versus when I'm doing high action, intense combat activities. I'm going to have to see all of my action bars. I got to see all my switches. I got to be able to interact with the game a lot more. And having those options provided to me is very nice for a customizable experience. But for most players, they'll probably be playing in the classic traditional window UI because it is relatively easy to navigate and it is actually what you end up loading in with when you first pop into the game. And then later down the line, when you realize you do need more things to interact with to progress the game, using the traditional UI is a lot easier to navigate and figure out because you have been exposed to a lot of the menus in the game and it's a lot easier to determine what you need to see and what you don't need to see. And finally, one of the biggest changes in my opinion was definitely the combat improvement and rework. Combat is a lot smoother, snappier, and more intuitive than before. It has better ability flow because a ton of abilities are removed from the game, making it less cluttered for when you're picking up the game and you're trying to figure out how to kill something. You just kind of go from down the line and being able to set up your ability bars automatically. It's a lot easier to pick up. When you're going into combat for the very first time, pretty much just click a target and it dies because there's two types of combat modes in the game. There's the manual combat, which is like a traditional MMO. You press all of your abilities manually. You go press 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth, and you hit the target with 1, 2, 3, 4. RuneScape also provides what WoW calls the one-button rotation, also known here in RuneScape as Revolution, where pretty much you set up all your abilities on the bar, and then the bar, the game, will end up automatically proccing all those abilities for you, making it a much more robust and relaxed play session. So if you're just going around in the world doing a quest, just get attacked by a monster or something, if you have Revolution on, all of your abilities would just automatically proc for you, making it the traditional, pretty much point and click action game where you watch numbering go up as you get better gear, better abilities, and progress through the game. Now, one of the biggest changes that was voted in for the 2026 for RuneScape was the Dailyscape overhaul and the removal of login pressure. Dailyscape is a term that describes game content outside of a skill's core identity that is often perceived as mandatory to engage with due to the time-gated mechanics and a disproportionately high reward offering for the little time investment. A lot of players did not like Dailyscape because it felt really inorganic to your login and play pressure. It kind of felt more like a chore of things to do, and so Jagex decided to remove it because it was a toxic piece of the day-to-day game environment, and it has been a really refreshing time to log into RuneScape and not feel any kind of pressure. You log in, you go ahead and do what you want to do, then you log out and leave. It's also reflected in communities. Before, when you would go ahead and go on a raid, you would have to do a raid for an entire hour because you would get these buffs called auras, and these auras would last for 60 minutes, and they would have a cooldown period of 4 hours. And so players would be focusing on getting it as much as they can get done in 1 hour, locking down whatever time they had to go play for exactly 1 hour per day. That has changed. The entire sentiment around that is different, and no longer do you have to do an entire hour of gameplay. You can go ahead, do 1 or 2 kills, and call it a day if that's what you like to do. Or on the Vice side of that, I've been going ahead and doing boss runs for like several hours non-stop, back to back to back, because I don't have to worry about my buffs running out or having some kind of cooldown period. It's been a very refreshing playtime and experience when you log into the game and you don't have to worry about any of that. The removal of Dailyscape has been really, really good for the overall health for players as well, because it just makes it way easier and more organic. You just go into the game, do what you need to, and log out, and then come back exactly where you were, and you're good to go. Now, there are still daily challenges in the game that do reward you a little bit of experience, and the reason why, and I think it's okay to keep daily challenges in the game, is because it's needed for new players. A lot of times times when I log into a game for the very first time, I am a little overwhelmed. There's literally so much to do in a 25-year-old game that just looking down any alleyway that has a ton of content to do can be overbearing, and you get analysis paralysis and you end up logging out. Daily challenges help give new players an idea of something to do and give you a little boost for going ahead and doing it. There's nothing wrong with being able to go ahead, do a daily challenge, go chop some trees, go kill some monsters, and then you get a little XP boost and you're good to go. But it helps give a little bit more direction of how the game can actually be played. And honestly, down the line, when you start leveling up your accounts and you get better skills and better training methods anyways, you're not even going to be thinking about the daily challenges because you have so many better avenues to get experience and level up and progress your account. The main thing about Dailyscape Overhaul was about the freedom. RuneScape is a game that wants you to log in because you want to play and not because you're afraid of missing out on anything. It's one of the biggest steps in the road to restoration, which is what the 2026 roadmap is called, and that is the overarching theme for this year when it comes to updates. RuneScape has needed a lot of tender love and care over the last few years, and players have been asking for it, myself included, and we never really got that until now. RuneScape feels dramatically more approachable for new players, and it's a lot easier to pick up when you are getting into the game. Plus, it's a really rewarding experience, leveling up and seeing your character get better at doing things. Now, even though all these beautiful changes have come into the game and making it an easier playtime, a much more engaging experience, we gotta talk about the microtransaction myth that is the game. This is probably the biggest misconception that every single player has about the game, unless you actually play it. People still think that RuneScape is a predatory cash grab, but the system that caused all the outrage, Treasure Hunter, which was essentially in-game gambling for gold, items, experience, and bonus experience, which is just experience that gets doubled when you're doing an activity, is pretty much gone besides the bonus experience. What Treasure Hunter used to provide to people was generate hundreds of millions pieces of gold that would come into the game, essentially leveling up your account and giving you access to things, give you giant amounts of XP boosts. It would hand out mid-level weapons that completely demeaned the beginning portion of the game. And worst part of all, it was in-game gambling, 100%. It was the core of RuneScape's reputation problem on top of the evolution of combat that have both been either removed or completely replaced. Now, the way that microtransactions work is that there is a cosmetic shop that you used to get directly from Treasure Hunter, and now you can just go straight to the shop, buy what you like, and go from there, and then you can get a small amount of bonus XP from the shop. It's not nearly the amount you would get from the Treasure Hunter amount, but people have asked to have the bonus XP kept in because the player base is aging. The average age for most people watching this video, or for people who are playing RuneScape, is above 30, 34 years old. So then people got full-time jobs, people have families, people have activities and other hobbies that aren't gaming, and they like having bonus XP to be able to progress through the game. My personal opinion on it, I don't really give a fuck, to be honest. It's just one of those things that, like, if that's what people would like, I don't interact with it. If people wanted it, it was a 70% vote, I think, or something, that people wanted to keep some form of bonus XP to be able to keep progressing their account. I'm not going to be upset about it. That's what it is. I don't interact with it. But that's it. There's no pay to win. There's kind of pay for convenience when it comes to leveling up your account, because getting your levels doesn't really get you everything in the game. It just kind of gets you access to things. You still got to learn. There's no more gambling mechanics when it comes to Treasure Hunter. You can't even in-game gamble anymore because they got rid of the giant staking casino that used to be in the desert. And then there's no progression shortcuts besides the bonus XP. Everything else that you get in the game that you got to do. There's no quest skipping. There's no buying weapons directly from the Treasure Hunter thing. There's nothing else in the game that gives you a leg up above anything else besides the small amount of bonus XP that you can buy, but I think you're an idiot if you end up spending money on getting bonus XP that you can get in-game for free for doing a quest line instead. Now, why would I recommend RuneScape in 2026 to somebody who's never played the game before or who's returning? Now, RuneScape has freedom unlike any other MMO. RuneScape lets you train any skill you'd like, you can pursue any goal, there's nothing really holding you to a direct path, and you can play at any pace. A lot of people play the game for like a month or two, drop it, come back, and keep going. Then the community is incredibly friendly. Everybody that I've ever interacted with has been incredibly nice. I get a lot of tips and tricks from my community, the in-game community, and just going around and talking to people. It is very, very nice. And 99% of the players that I meet on the daily are kind, helpful, and patient. the game really respects your time as well. You can log in for 10 minutes and make some pretty decent progress and go from there. There's no daily chore systems anymore. There's no battle passes, and there's not really any FOMO. Only kind of FOMO that there really is are seasonal events that happen every holiday season, and then there's also like the rotating cash drop, kind of like how Guild Wars 2 does it. It is a lot easier to learn the game as well. The new player experience is the best that it's ever been. It's a much cleaner direction. It's smoother leveling process. It has better tutorials and pop-ups when you unlock new abilities. It's a lot better, and I really think that RuneScape is a game that wants you to enjoy it. It's a pretty enjoyable game, if I do say so myself. So what if you are going to pick up the game? What do you have to look forward to? Well, the biggest update of the year, in my opinion, is going to be the player-owned house rework. What this is they're going to be adding a completely overhaul to the player-owned house, making it more modern and customizable, adding in more social features, and you can even move into your neighborhood with your bros. I think that's going to be super cool. I'm very excited for that. That's my most anticipated update. We're also going to be getting Leagues 2, which is a seasonal game mode that lets you get a insane power fantasy. Great for any players is checking out the game. There's also going to be API plugin support, which is going to make your game a lot more customizable, being able to add in plugins that track loot, track your XP. They can give you little things in game, prompts, such like that, to be able to customize your experience even more and enhance your gameplay. That's pretty exciting. A lot of people are using those kind of plugins right now for WoW and old school RuneScape that make the game a lot more bearable to play, and they're going to be adding that into RuneScape as well. RuneScape really does deserve a second look, especially if you're a new player or a returning player. In the gaming world full of broken launches, I'm looking at you, Ashes of Creation, shallow content, and cash grab live service titles. RuneScape really stands out to me as a game that's actually improving consistently, meaningfully, and with the player experience at the center. Really focused on building that community and building a better game. And that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. If you're new around here, leave me a like, leave me a sub, comment down below if you're going to check out the game, or if you're not going to check it out, why not? I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!